Welcome back, everybody. This is Talk, Teach, Play, where we discuss everything youth sports. I'm really blessed today to have Rashaad Ishmail with me today, and we're going to dig in and talk about something I think is going to be great for a lot of you, which is how do you create a career in the youth sports industry or in the sports industry as a whole. So, Rashaad, welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
I'm excited. You know, we've had a chance to kind of meet virtually on several levels, but this is great to be able to collaborate and work together. And, you know, one thing I kind of want to step back before we go forward, especially for those of you that are out there, you know, you're living your dream or you're building your dream. And I love that about you. You know, you had an internship with Slam Sports Management, right? And
Yep.
you've been doing the work. So I thought, what a great way to take what you know and the experience that you're actually living and then put it into play, and you can help these folks as they go. So we're gonna break this down. You know, I usually talk about youth sports. Today we're gonna talk about youth sports, but really kind of how does that go to the bigger picture, to professional sports, college sports, or anything else as we go forward. Fair enough?
For sure. Yep.
Great. Well, I'm excited to have you on board, and we'll jump right in if that's good with you. So just so that my audience and everybody listening here can get a little more information about you and your background. I know you guys right now are probably subscribing or taking care of business so you can gather this information. You've been following great, and we do appreciate that. But tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you got into the business of what you're doing and what your dreams are and how it's going.
Yeah, so I'm a second-year student doing my bachelor's degree. I'm doing a business administration degree with a minor in economics as well as a minor in UX design. And I live up in Canada, kind of near Toronto. That's probably the easiest way to put it. Go to a smaller school. It's not as known globally, but it's called Wilfrid Laurier University. So I'm in my second year. As well, I'm in a co-op program. So as part of my degree, I have to complete 3 co-op terms at various companies. Now, I haven't actually started the co-op aspect of the degree yet, but I have been able to do kind of some other internships, which I'll talk on in a bit, outside of school, and just to kind of further my personal brand and development outside of the school aspect of it. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'll definitely get into the internships a little bit later.
Great. You know, what's interesting to me is, again, a lot of you know, the younger people that are out there, if you're coaching, let's say you're coaching, you want the opportunity to grow forward. And I know, Rashaad, that's not your area of expertise in terms of, you haven't coached a lot, obviously. And for someone like me who's coached, I can kind of give you the basic idea. First of all, check yourself and make sure you really want to coach, because, you know, it's a long journey. It's a very crowded space if you're a coach. But if you're a coach and you want the opportunity to work in the space of sports, one thing I will say is that you really do need to get your education, your ducks in a row. But a lot of it is really about relationships, you know, and I'm assuming it's going to be the same for you. But from the coaching standpoint, it's really important that you spend the time to learn the tricks of the trade, so to speak, learn the trade, and then develop relationships, whether you're coaching in high school or being a graduate assistant, wherever you're going to be. There's a process in place in terms of the coaching. But let's talk away from coaching a little bit. Let's go more towards maybe sports management or maybe some other areas that we can dig into a little bit. So if someone wanted to get involved, let's say they want to be a sports agent or they want to go in that direction, you know, how does that even happen? For those that don't know, I mean, how does that even work?
Right. So, you know, as a student, I'm still exploring that pathway myself, but being able to do a few different internships. So I actually did an internship this past summer, which you had mentioned, at Slam Sports Management, and they're a basketball agency, and they've pretty much got clients all over the world, still looking for their first NBA clients, okay. But they have a ton throughout Europe. If for those of you who don't know, basketball is actually pretty big out in Europe itself, so they've got a lot of clients out there. They've got some in Japan. I want to say they have some in Argentina and whatnot. So yeah. They're growing, and I was able to do a marketing communications internship position with them this past summer. And so after that role, I was able to kind of connect with an NFL agent, and he was running a course called Agent Academy. And essentially it was an 8-week course, and it was all virtual, obviously just due to COVID and making it easier for everyone to participate. But it was an 8-week program, and he kind of gave the ins and outs of being an NFL agent and talked about, you know, the marketing side, the the recruiting side, getting players, what really is involved in it. And that's really how I learned about that side of the business. I've wanted to go that route for a few years now. But it is a big time commitment, and it is a lifestyle. You ultimately have to look at your job as, does it fit the lifestyle you want? Because as an agent, you're traveling all over, right, whether it's the United States or whether it's across countries, you're traveling everywhere. So there's many different ways to go about it. And you have to look at, really, when you're looking at starting a career in the sports industry and which path you want to go on, you really have to look at what kind of lifestyle you want to live first, and let your job dictate it. Because I think there's yeah, as you're mentioning, talking about being an agent, there's different ways to be involved in the sports industry, that are all interconnected, whether you're an agent or you do marketing, or whether you work for a team, and all of the different roles that are out there, you're going to get a different type of lifestyle with that. And I think that's really a big thing you want to keep in mind when you're thinking about starting a career in the industry, is just that, what lifestyle do you want to live? Do you want to be on the road traveling? Do you want to be at home a lot? Do you want to live in one spot? Do you want to be remote? I think that's what you have to figure out first, and then you can figure out what it is, the specific role you want to go into, because it's like any industry.
And you want to be there for them, and you're on the road, that may not work as well. It's funny when you mentioned that. I remember my Uncle Neil, when I was younger, I remember sitting actually in a tire shop with him, and I was talking about, well, I like to play in the NBA. I think I was 13, and had that conversation. He said, Aaron, there's a way to stay involved in sports, even if you don't end up playing. And he wasn't saying, hey, keep, chase your dream, but he was basically saying there's a lot of different, whether it's managing a team or being a general manager or being an assistant coach or coaching, or there's so many different levels. There's scouting. There's just so much to it. So I think it's a great bandwidth opportunity, but you're right. You do have to find some level of focus. Another thing is someone that did work. I got to run sports camps with John Wooden and with the Lakers and the Warriors and with Magic Johnson and all these different players. There's a way to be connected there as well. So part of it is really, I really commend you for being as young as you are and finding your passion, because obviously this is a passion for you. I mean, right? You've got your own podcast. You're doing all these different components to stay connected to this in terms of figuring out what it is that you kind of want to go. So when you talk about opportunities a little bit, tell me some of the things that you've either learned or thought processes about opportunities. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of opportunities, if someone wants to get involved in sports and maybe they're not that great, they're not going to play, and maybe they don't want to coach, but they would like to be involved. What are you hearing? Like, what opportunities are there with teams or to be involved in pro sports?
Yeah. And I think that goes back to what you had mentioned earlier about, it's about who you know in the industry and about building those connections and staying connected, because I think a lot of jobs nowadays are not even posted online, and you can find a job with a company that isn't actually publicly posted, just because of who you know. And I think ultimately people get jobs because of who they know and because of the connections they've been able to develop. And that's really opportunity. I think the hardest part is getting started. Once you get started, you meet someone in the industry. Well, they've been in the industry for 20, 30 years. They know a ton of other people in the industry. So they're going to refer you if you do a good job. And that's kind of what I would say is, don't be afraid to, just reach out to as many people as possible and in different ways you can, whether that's starting a podcast, whether that's just, having a coffee chat, whether it's virtual right now, but people are usually willing to do that and give you 20, 30 minutes of their time. And if you're able to do that and you're able to follow up after, there's always going to be those opportunities. Now, different opportunities will be at different times, whether it's with a team, they're going to have opportunities on the player side, on the scouting side, on the coaching side, on the business side. So there's opportunities in any which way you want to go. It's just a matter of you actually getting started and putting yourself out there and finding a way to stand out at the beginning, because once you're in, I think it's a lot easier to move around and to progress. It's just getting started. That's the hardest part. And really, I think it's not hard to get started, but you have to, put it on yourself. No one's going to tell you to get started, and you have to put it on yourself and be like, okay, I need to reach out to 10 people this week so I can start building my network. And if you don't do that and take those steps, then the opportunities aren't going to be handed to you ultimately, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
So the fundamentals that we teach in sports actually do translate whether you're still playing or not. And it's interesting that what you're talking about, Coach Wooden talks about that luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? And what you're saying is create your own luck, right? I tell everybody I'm the luckiest guy in the world, but the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have, right? Well, they go hand in hand. So it seems to me that part of what you're talking about, if you really want to get into this, is you really should investigate what opportunities there are and what lane maybe is of interest. But I will tell you, as someone who did see a lot of people that did work in the NBA particularly, but even in the NFL, there's a lot of low-level jobs that are not high paying. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of work, right? And I would assume you probably went through some of that as well. So, but that's part of paying your dues, right? That's part of the process.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, all the internships I've done have been unpaid. So that just like, it goes to show you, if you want to start, you're going to have to work for free and build those connections. But, if it's something you're passionate about and something you want to get into, you have to understand that doing it now and doing different opportunities now and finding what you like and finding what you really don't like now while you're able to, versus, when you graduate and you actually have to worry about your bills and paying all your expenses. And right. If you're in a low paying job at that point and you really don't like it, you're kind of stuck in a sense because you have to stick it out and keep paying your bills and whatnot. But if you're able to do those smaller opportunities and learn what you like beforehand, then you're setting yourself up a lot better for the future.
I like that. So you're basically setting the table and you're kind of giving yourself the opportunity. And, when you're younger, like you say, you don't have as many responsibilities. It's a great idea to try different things. You may be still in the sports lane, right? Because that's kind of what we're talking about. But You might try marketing. You might try, who knows, whatever the level is, and you might find what becomes your passion. I've been blessed. I've had no job other than working in sports my entire adult life. I'm one of the blessed ones, right? I found a lane and I kind of got good at it. And what I've been able to do is to listen. So when you talk about, tell me about mentors for you. We haven't really dug into that a little bit, but I got to imagine there's some people out there that have guided you, that have become mentors for you. Tell me about that a little bit and maybe the role they might play in what you're doing.
Yeah. So obviously there's a ton. A few that definitely come to mind is, so right now, I'm doing an internship at an agency, and I started a web design company kind of a couple months ago now, and that's kind of given me another door into the industry now. The agent that was running the Agent Academy, his name's Joshua Grady. So he's got his own company. It's called Grady Sports Agency, and he's was I think the youngest person to get his NFL agent certification, right? So I think he's 27 or 28 now, but he's definitely been a mentor for me just in the past 5, 6, 7 months now. And I've actually been able to kind of set up a partnership where I'm kind of the web designer for his future clients. So with that, I get to work with, I just did a website for one of his clients' wives actually, and he used to play for the Seahawks, which is actually my favorite team, so even better. And now he's playing in the CFL for Edmonton. I believe he just released his signing, or his that he got signed today. So just having him and having a different way to stand out and continue the follow-up process has allowed me to really keep in touch with him and allowed him to, mentor me, and just even following them on Instagram and a few other agents that definitely come to mind as well. The scouting intern position that I'm doing now is with another agency. It's called Divine Sports and Entertainment. And it's run by two guys. So it's run by Michael Desane, who is an NFL agent. He's worked for a few other agencies in the past, and him and I guess I'm not sure where they met, but another guy, his name's Ryan Williams Jenkins, and he's worked in scouting development for the Seahawks and for the Giants. And they came together and they started their agency this year. So a lot of youthful guys, the younger guys, I would definitely say, because there is a lot of older agents. There's a big gap, I think, between the older, more established agents and some of the newcomers now. And I think those newcomers have especially been, a good mentors for me, just being able to go to them with questions and learn about the industry. And if there's something I want to learn about and I have a question, I can reach out and ask them at any point. And being able to do an internship with them, unpaid or not, the mentorship aspect is invaluable, and you're going to get a lot more out of that in the long run than getting a paid position, working retail or something.
Well, plus
So,
if you work with this, you're going to get the connections. This is important, but you're also going to learn, hey, I don't want to do this,
exactly.
or I love it, because you're going to be put that time in and it really work. I was speaking with a group on Clubhouse, which is an app. I don't know if you remember, but that's really a good way too, because there's so many people that you can just sit there and you can be a voyeur and just listen, or you can jump in and talk or whatever it is. But that's developing your skills, just like you would if you're a basketball player or a baseball player. You got to develop your skills, develop the relationship and the ability to work together. So, when I think about organizations, whether it's pro teams or colleges or whatnot, they've got this, for lack of better words, an organization. They got a system that works in lots of different moving parts, right? I don't think people realize how much it takes to put on an NBA game, right? I mean, from the player side to the operation side, basketball side, to, all the things that have to happen, concessions, parking, oh, by the way, right? And let's have a game. So when you think about an organization that's building up, and obviously they look at organizations that have won championships and they go, okay, that's the organization. But I'm thinking more sustainable organizations that have won over time, right? Those are the ones that to me have done kind of even better. But what do you think the responsibility is, or maybe some ideas from organizations that once you get connected, how can they help you? Like, how can they help someone like you to be able to have an opportunity to kind of grow within that? You got any thoughts about that, or you had any experience with that?
Yeah, well, when you're starting out as an intern, just taking the initiative and showing that you have an interest will go a long way. They're always going to give you opportunities and give you different jobs to do if you show the interest, and if you're doing well at it as well. So, if you continue to show interest and find ways to stick out, sometimes you're going to have to find the ways too. That there might be a role that you notice that is lacking in the business a little bit, and you're able to offer some help to pick it up, whether that's even just gathering data on a spreadsheet, whatever it is. And if you find some way to just stick out, they'll remember that, and then they'll be able to present you with opportunities in the future, because they know that you're showing the interest and you really want to grow within their organization. And ultimately that could lead to a paid position down the road. If you start out in an organization early, especially, and you stick out with them for a while, you'll be able to grow in that role, or they'll be able to refer you to another organization, such as like a professional team. And if they know someone that's up there, you might not start at the entry level job. You might get a better job to start off, and it'll be a lot easier to progress that way. So I think it's just, like you said, it is a little bit of luck, but you can create your own luck in a sense.
Right. When you're speaking about that, I think I remember way back when I got to do a little training with Stephen Covey. And if you guys don't know Stephen Covey, you should definitely check him out. But he says, seek to understand before being understood. And I think it's really important, especially for someone your age or those that are coming up, even with the National Academy of Athletics, those that are kind of come up through my organization. What I found is if they listen to what we're saying and they embrace it, and they really then can build upon that then before they go try to do it. Because, I have done this a while. I'm pretty good at it, right? And I would imagine the same for you. If you go into an agency you're working with and try to tell them how to do stuff, they're going to look at you like you're nuts, right? So you've got to listen, you got to learn, you got to know when to. But I will tell you, Al Attles, who was coached the Golden State Warriors to the championship 74-75 season, I remember sitting with him, and we were in the arena. And the guy that was bringing up the stats, the quarter stats, right, the sheets, would always fold it a certain way, and it just made it easier to gather the data you wanted, right? And again, take it, copy, staple, run it out there. Who cares, right? But the fact that he would do it and do it a certain way, so Coach Al could feel comfortable with it and have a little bit of that, it meant the difference. And I guess it's no matter what you're going to do, like you said, you want to stand out, but stand out for the right reason, right? You want to do a little extra, learn what they're looking for, and be able to give them that little extra to make them more comfortable, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Good stuff. So as you move forward, do you think degrees, I mean, let's talk about your situation, but degrees, don't get me wrong, I think they're very important. And as you go through that, I think if you just went to school and just got your degree or your diploma, that can work. if you just did the internship and don't go to college, that could work. But I think you have to have both, right? You got to find the right blend.
I do think so. And I think, as much as the degrees are starting to fade a little bit, it's always, you need that base, right? You need something to fall back on if what you want to do doesn't work out, or if you don't end up liking it, you need something to just keep you going. And I think it's very possible to do internships and degrees. I mean, right now I'm doing, the podcast and the internship and the web design and school at the same time. So I think it really is possible but you have to have a passion for it. And I think a lot of the conversations I've had with some people in the industry and it just goes back to, when you're a kid and you want to be a professional athlete, you can love sports and you can, watch every single sport and every single game and not miss a season. And
right.
If you love sports, that's great. But it's one thing to love sports and it's one thing to work in it, because, you can have a passion for sports in general, but if you don't have a passion for the actual job you're doing in sports, just the fact that you're in sports is not going to be enough. And I think that's kind of going off of your question, but
yeah.
I think
that's a very important part, because I mean, you think about it, whatever it is, I tell everybody, my mom used to tell me, if you find your passion and you get paid for it, you're really not going to work, right? But
exactly.
On the other hand, if you're out there doing something you don't love doing and you're going through the process, it's going to be a tough journey. So, but okay, so then, like, skill wise, right? You're honing your skills right now, and maybe you're very humble about your conversations you've had with me, and that you're just learning this stuff, right? But you're building a library of skills that you can go back to, right? And you can build upon to be better. I'll share a quick story. Sugar Ray Leonard, who was a boxer, yeah, he talked about how important it is to basically master your skills, right? Guys talk about 10,000 hours before you're an expert, right? He had said that in a fight, he saw the opening and then he hit him, and it made him win the fight. And he said, at that moment, I knew I had to retire. And they're like, but wait a second, you're the champ again. He goes, no, you see, I saw the opening, then I hit him. In the old days, my fist would have already been there. And I think what it comes down to, which is what you're learning, and some of us that have been around a little bit, us old guys, right? We've done it long enough that it becomes second nature, and we know what's coming. Sometimes we know what's coming even before it's coming, so we can be fully prepared for that. So how do you do that? How at your ages, you're figuring this out, and you got slam sports, you got internships, you got your school. How are you able to prepare yourself in that way? What are some of the things that you're doing?
I think the biggest thing is time management. And I could kind of answer the question you asked before at the same time here, but
yeah.
With the degree, you're getting a set of skills that you are able, it's more the knowledge, right? But actually applying those skills is where the internships come into play and where the jobs come in. So if you only have the knowledge, but you don't actually know how to apply that knowledge, you're not going to succeed in the role. And if you're jumping into the role without any knowledge, it's same thing. It goes both ways. So I think having both the internship or the job or the co-op or whatever it is experience with your degree at the same time, you're able to learn and you're able to quickly see that, okay, I got this knowledge and I can apply it to this role, but in this role, I don't have the knowledge, or I don't know how to apply my knowledge I learned into this role. So it's just, I think it's a matter of, the degree gives you the background knowledge, and that's what allows you to succeed in the internship role. But without taking the degree, you're not going to have the background knowledge to actually do the internship, and vice versa. So I think it's just a matter of when I'm trying to learn and hone in on my skills, it's more of, you have to leverage both, but you have to take it slow, and you have to just accept that you're going to fail along the way. And that's why I think it's important too with your internships is, don't just focus on one path the whole way. Don't get 3 internships in the same position, because you're not growing. You're learning the same skills, applying the same skills. You already know how to do it. I think with the internships, especially if you're getting an unpaid role, why would you do an unpaid role if you're not going to learn anything? That there's no point, right? You want to build yourself out. And so I think just doing different roles allows you to fail a little bit, but allows you to realize what you actually need the knowledge on, or where you need to learn how to apply that knowledge. So it goes both ways.
That's great. Yeah. I think about that. And I think also, the experience you get in college of the people you're around and dealing with what's fair and not fair, because life's not fair, right? All the different factors that you have to go through. and meeting deadlines, like you said, all those different skills that you learn, obviously you'll rely on those carrying forward. I can remember, when I was younger, history didn't really interest me, but now I realize how important history is, right? And being able to, so some of it doesn't repeat itself. But again, there's lessons you're learning without knowing you're learning them. And that's pretty cool. Let's talk about skills. So what kind of skills do you think that you're going to need for yourself to be successful in the sports industry?
So you're definitely going to need time management. You're going to need to be organized. You're going to need all those, those general soft skills. You need to be responsible. And I think one of the big ones is you're going to have to be proactive, and you're going to have to develop initiative and be able to reach out and build your confidence and be a leader. I think that's a big one, is if you can learn to be a leader and lead other people, you'll succeed in any role you do. And I think it's just, there's so many skills that you can learn, whether it's technical skills, whether it's, the soft skills like leadership and communication, whether it's writing. And once you find skills that you're able to succeed and thrive in, you'll be able to find ways to stand out. And that goes back to, the websites. For me, I started doing websites back in high school, just for myself. And I realized I was actually trying to do something called affiliate marketing, where you're promoting products and people go in and buy it and whatnot. Anyway, so that didn't really work out, but I learned that in the process, I actually learned how to do a website, and I learned about some design. And now with my degree, I'm taking a minor in UX design, which is, providing some more knowledge on how to really design websites and how to improve the user interface and user experience. So that on the side has allowed me to connect with agents and now be able to be in touch with them on a daily basis and work with their clients and build out that way. So I think there's really not one specific skill that is the most important. And I think it's a matter of you and your own personality and what skills you are passionate about learning, and you can leverage any skill to be successful, I think.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I would say, I agree with everything you just said. I want to box that up and I want to say your ability to be authentic.
For sure.
Because people can smell BS, right?
Especially in the agent business.
Absolutely, right? Because there's a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
And the other one is to be a relationship person. You have to be, if you're going to end up in the sports world, you can be really good and be the 1% maybe, but mostly it's about relationships. It's about your ability to communicate with people, to be empathetic, to be willing to do things that maybe other people wouldn't do, all those things. And again, those skills are going to translate to whatever you do, but it's a challenging business to get into, to make it, to be sustainable and to make it to that top. It looks glamorous, right? It looks, this and that, but it's that small percent at the top, right? I remembering help me, help you. And that whole thing, or, all those components, the reality of this journey as you go forward and working in sports, it can be done. I truly believe anybody can do that, right? I do believe, like you're doing, is you got to do the work. If you want to be a great free throw shooter, you got to practice free throws, right?
Yeah.
And I love your concept of being able to deal with failure, because that's really what sports is all about, right? And try different things until you find your sweet spot, right? And you obviously haven't found your sweet spot yet, but I love the fact that you're trying lots of different things. Like that's phenomenal. So good on you.
Yeah, and one thing I've been able to learn just doing these internships is that, with COVID and everything and how the lifestyles are changing, I don't mind this remote work. And I one of my goals is to, travel as much as I can around the world. And I think having a remote job allows you to do that and work anywhere. Right. So that's not possible sometimes in the sports industry, especially if you're working for a team and you need to be there. So there's different ways you can still be involved and work in the industry. It's just, I think when you're able to do these internships and these jobs and co-ops, you're able to learn that this is what the job is actually about. And you actually get to put yourself in their shoes and see what your life would be like and realize that, okay, maybe I don't want to do this. And I think it's a lot better to do that. And going back to what you said about, just being authentic and staying true to yourself, it's important, because if you're not doing that, you're ultimately pretending to be someone else. And in the end, it's going to come back to hurt you when you're working in that specific role that you don't actually like. So I think, staying true to yourself the whole way through and riding it out and accepting failure rather than trying to be someone you're not is definitely a key aspect for not only sports industry, but any role.
Love it. You know, sticking with this, the failure situation for a minute, I got to work with the quarterback for the Niners, Joe Montana, and he taught me fail fast, fail forward. You know what I mean? So basically learn from these things. And if I've got an intern on my staff, I'm looking for them to push to failure. And then how are they going to come out of that quickly? And how are they going to figure out, take the next step, and don't make the same mistake again? That's a big part of this learning process. So, man, you've got a lot of wealth of knowledge. I take my hat off, especially at your young age, to do so much that you're doing. I want to make sure we keep in contact and going forward and make things go forward. What's the best way, if someone wants to reach you or follow you or see what's going on in your world, what's the best way for them to be able to do that?
Yeah, well, you know, with technology, we got anyway now, but I would say by, you know, LinkedIn is a great way. That's what I use a lot. So just my name on LinkedIn, whether if it's Instagram, my Instagram, whether it's the podcast one, so that's SportsBiz with Rashaad, whether it's my main Instagram, which is just Rashaad_0404, whether it's the web design with Rashaad Instagram. So, you know, there's plenty of ways that you can send me an email. It's Rashaad0404 at outlook.com. So, you know, I think LinkedIn is probably the best way just because, you know, you can search up someone's name very easily, but Instagram works too. They all work and they're all interconnected, and I'm very accessible, you know, so I think that's important too, is being accessible and always having your phone on you or having a way to get in touch with people. But you don't have to be addicted to it, but you do have to be accessible, especially if you want to, you know, build your network out and build connections and work virtually with people around the world. You have to be accessible. So definitely, if anyone wants to get in touch, and I'll be in touch with you for sure. And yeah, I'm always open to new conversations and whatnot.
Well, and I'm counting on you to help the youngers that are coming up behind you as you do this. It's interesting to me, speaking to you in Canada. Yesterday, I was dealing with a gentleman from Zimbabwe. So it's really cool that we can be global and bringing this together. Let's be honest, sports really is kind of a universal language, right? I will say, those of you, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. Talk.Teach.Play is near and dear to me in terms of what we're trying to do to help the youth to have a better experience and participate in youth sports, but also just their journey in life. As you get a little older and you still want to be involved in sports, maybe take a look at these journeys and opportunities. If you want to reach out through the National Academy of Athletics.com, there's tons of contact there. And again, all the social media, you'll find us for sure, and reach out. I want to thank you for jumping on with me today, Rashaad. This was great. And I'm sure there's some great tips that we can build up. And for those of you that are listening and paying attention, thanks for spending time with us. And I remind everybody, especially when you're dealing with kids, make sure that you play hard and have fun. Thanks. Appreciate it.